Hi, this is Samantha Clark, and this is my presentation on Jim Burke's classroom management. So we'll start with the key principles in the text. First, Burke discusses a lot about how maintaining a positive relationship with students is a large part of classroom management. So getting to know the students, knowing how your students learn, discussing with them, and showing respect for them is a huge part of classroom management, which also helps with effective instruction. Classroom presentation is a huge aspect, not just presenting yourself in a professional manner, but setting up your classroom in an organized fashion that displays learning goals and appears as if it is an educational environment. Setting expectations. This is an important aspect because if the students don't know your expectations, then they don't know how to act in your classroom. A huge aspect about this is letting them know on the first day, and then also making sure they know thereafter. And meeting student needs is a huge aspect. We have a variety of learners in our classrooms that learn in different ways, that have different abilities. So as a teacher, we need to be able to meet those needs, and that way we will be able to manage our classrooms more effectively. So this first main idea, maintaining a positive relationship with students. A simple aspect is showing interest in your students. In that lull before class starts, ask how they are, ask how they're doing, check in with your students. Maybe do an interest survey or send out an email before school begins. Simply show that you care about your students and show interest in their lives. Another aspect is respect. If we want to receive respect from our students, we need to give it to them. At this point, students are entering adolescence and they are learning how to become young adults. Therefore, they are still learning how to respect others and receive respect. They're moving out of respecting their elders, as children might understand, and now they're becoming a part of society. So we need to cultivate an environment in which we all respect each other. Therefore, it is easier to manage our classroom. Listen and learn. So our role as a teacher isn't just simply to teach them. I guess we are still teaching them inductively by listening and learning from them. We're teaching them how to listen and learn from others. But our role in the classroom is more than that. We are also there for the students, and we are with the students 180 days a year. So we need to listen from them and be willing to learn about them, learn from their experiences and their background. We have a large amount of students whose backgrounds are much different than ours. So if we learn from them, we can gain that respect. By showing interest, we can gain that respect. Another major thing to consider is just thinking before we speak, managing our own microaggressions, and instead of being angry in reaction to students, think about how we're acting in front of them, how we're reacting to them as fellow adults. Thinking before we speak can prevent us from saying things that might offend them, from saying things that might lessen our rapport with them. Being sensitive with our words. The next aspect that we'll talk about is classroom presentation. So a big thing that he talks about is using our walls to educate, communicate, and celebrate. So using our walls to educate, if we're in an English classroom, we can put up specific grammar rules, things that can remind our students every day of the things that they're learning. Communicate any updates. If we have a bulletin board, or if we have updates about what's going on in the school or what's coming up. If students are communicated with, then they will be more prepared for class. Celebrate. Displaying students' work is a huge part of maintaining classroom management. So this means that we are making the classroom not just ours, but theirs. They are less likely to disrespect an environment that belongs to them. And maintaining organized is a huge aspect. Just having an organized environment that makes students feel like they're in a safe, productive workspace. Setting expectations is a huge one. So first, we need to make sure that our students are aware on the first day and define the consequences. This can happen by going over the syllabus, what's expected in class, what their behavior should look like in this academic environment, and then ensuring that the expectations are known. Post them somewhere. Assess for understanding. This can be with a quiz, or it could be with a fun game like a Kahoot or like Jeopardy. Reiterate constantly. The school year is very long. It's different than a blocked schedule sometimes, and it could happen from September to May. It could be from August to June. So we need to constantly reiterate what our expectations are, to remind them and not just expect that they constantly are aware of them. And follow through with consequences and rules. If one student is allowed to do something but another is not, that will lessen our rapport with them and it will make it much harder to manage the classroom. And challenge reasonably. So these expectations are a little different than how students behave in the classroom. It's also what they're expected to do. So if we pull back and we discuss academics, we want our students to be challenged constantly. We don't want them to feel like everything is easy. Then they have room to do other things. If they're constantly challenged, then they're constantly busy with learning. Effective instruction. So we will read a whole other book and discuss this week, but a major aspect of classroom management is maintaining effective instruction. To utilize time effectively. Before and after the lesson, utilize that time to continue instruction. Before class, we can utilize time to set up the lesson, greet students, write on the board, check in with homework, mingle and discuss their lives. That will increase our rapport and make use of time effectively. We could communicate what the plan is for the class before the lesson begins so that students are aware of what's happening. We could do a warm-up activity so students are ready for the lesson. We could also take that time to take care of logistics and administration needs, taking roll, make announcements, make reminders, collect documents, or prepare students for the day like discussed before. But after the lesson, we also need to end class productively, not simply just let them go on the bell. They need a closure. Explain the homework for the night, maybe reflect, review, and assess. But we do need to use that time effectively. A major aspect he discusses is being flexible but predictable. We want every day to have a sort of routine to it so it's easier for students to learn. But we do also want to be flexible with students' needs. Maybe have a certain time of day that's set for addressing what students are struggling with, answering their questions. But again, this needs to fit within a routine. Utilize modeling is a big aspect of effective instruction. Students need model texts. They need to see you modeling an exercise or modeling an assignment or an assessment. They also need to be able to see what their homework should look like or their project should look like. Meeting student needs. This is a big aspect about classroom management that maintains effective instruction, is just differentiating, knowing how students learn, meeting their needs, and being able to teach them in the best way possible. So utilizing a seating plan. So maybe don't just leave it the same way all year, or if you do, make sure it's set up in a way that students of mixed abilities are together. Learn the ways your students learn. This can be done through an interest survey or just simply noticing how students learn most effectively, observing them. Choose authentic and meaningful topics. Don't just choose topics that may be set in stone for preparing them for AP. We want topics that they can actually understand, not broad, boring topics. Utilize real-world problems. Problem-solving skills and critical thinking are a major aspect of learning. We don't just want to spew knowledge at them and have them absorb it. We want them to understand how to figure out things themselves. And utilize group work. This is most easily done in a seating plan, but mixing students together, getting students to know each other, making sure that they feel comfortable in the classroom with every student that's in there, and using collaboration for effective learning. All right, those are some of the tips from Jim Burke's Classroom Management. It's difficult to cover every single page, even though it is very concise, but that was 9 minutes of classroom management. Thank you.